Metal Slug is a fantastic series, and for those who've been following me for a while, you'll know that despite not liking Metal Slug Attack Reloaded, I'm a huge fan of the series and have sunk many tokens into the arcade versions before the ACA versions of the games graced the Nintendo Switch. Metal Slug Tactics employs a new direction in approaching the franchise, adding a lot more strategy in a huge shift away from its bullet hell origins. What's it like? Select your squad, pick your map, and lock and load as we review Metal Slug Tactics for the Nintendo Switch.
Mission start!
Now before we head to the battlefield, would you mind liking and subscribing? That's the best tactic for gamers to find what's it like on YouTube, and I can't thank you enough for doing so. Metal Slug Tactics deviates from the series' 2D run and gun style of gameplay, and shifts focus to an isometrics, turn-based tactics game. It was a huge risk for the series, and thankfully, it pays off by giving players a rogue-like tactics game that somehow manages to preserve the feel of the series. Players will initially start with the series favourites Eri, Marco, and Theo, but will be able to unlock Tama, Trevor, Nadia, Ralph, Clark, and Leona. The squad's all here, and so are the series' signature bad guys, including the elusive General Morden. Players will start off in one sector, selecting stages in the direction of the deployment starting area and carefully map out which rewards they may want to claim before the enemy takes action, which results in a boss fight and the end of that particular area. You won't get there right away, and there's a lot of trial and error in the first hour or so, which may be frustrating to some. Those who soldier on will unlock new levels and assets to deploy, as well as skill enhancements and abilities to maximize combat efficiency and increase the probability of completing their run. The gameplay is addictive and well thought out. Players will learn to maximize their movement to increase adrenaline, which allows a higher chance of dodging and also generates points to use in special abilities. These abilities can be airstrikes, teleporting allies or enemies, or just throwing a lot of grenades out thanks to Eri's particular fondness for high explosive devices. When not using special abilities, each character has their trusty pistol, or grenades for Eri, that has infinite ammo, and a secondary weapon like the iconic heavy machine gun. You'll be able to change loadouts eventually and really mix up your strategy, but for your first playthrough or two, you'll most likely stick with the classics. Combat is turn-based, giving you set movement and then actions. You must always move first and then attack, which may catch some players off guard, but this is how the system generates your adrenaline points for your special moves. If you position your troops well, you'll be able to trigger sync shots, which are a free attack that is triggered when the enemy you attack shares the same attack path with one of your teammates. These sync shots will formulate a lot of your strategy in the game, and it makes teamwork essential to successfully completing a run. It does have its downsides, especially if Eri is in your party, because as you know, friendly fire isn't so friendly, and there were plenty of times when my squad would catch a stray bullet or blast damage meant for someone else. Metal Slug Tactics features the series' signature artwork and style, and it's a gorgeous game in action. There's a lot of fan service here, and that only adds to the excitement of the gameplay. Familiar bosses and enemies litter maps, there's the famous golden bearded hostages, and plenty of Easter eggs littered throughout the world that made me smile while playing. It plays homage to the series it's based on, and it takes a lot of care though preserving that source material, rather than bastardizing it. Boss fights are particularly well done, with large set pieces full of action, usually keeping you on the move and juggling enemy management while chipping away at bosses. These encounters are the perfect time to deploy your earned slugs in Battlefield, which act the same way they do in the main series, with the exception of requiring fuel to fire, and they manage to make quick work of bosses to achieve that glorious victory. Levels are also littered with tributes to the main series, as well as sometimes having environmental objects that you can use to turn the tide of battle. I rarely ran into the same level twice thanks to the random deployment with each run, and despite objectives usually being a rather simple affair, the variations changed up enough to keep the game fresh during my multiple playthroughs. Unfortunately, Metal Slug Tactics is, well, sluggish, with terrible performance in handheld mode where frame rates dip while just trying to navigate the battlefield, and it often led to frustrating misclicks. The undo button can help here, but there really doesn't appear to be a reason for this poor performance. Docked mode manages to pick up frames, but then it also presents its own bugs, like audios being seconds out of sync, which causes a rather off-putting immersion break from this otherwise fantastic game. For context, this is a retail copy being reviewed 1 month after launch with post-launch patches that have been applied. So hopefully, the game sees a little bit more support and those frame rate and audio issues get sorted out soon. Vision impaired soldiers may have a lot of difficulty playing Metal Slug Tactics, especially on handheld mode due to the incredibly small text and UI, and it just cannot be scaled up. For my other soldiers looking into accessibility options, there are no specific options here. So as always, I recommend further research into finding out whether Metal Slug Tactics is for you. Now, despite these performance issues, due to the turn-based nature of the game, not a lot is lost. Although it is a blemish on a game that has had so much care taken in trying something wildly different for the series, and it should be applauded. As we enter the final round of battle for this review, Metal Slug Tactics is great value at just under $40 Australian. There are a lot of secrets to unlock and a true ending to pursue which may take you a while. And the fantastic gameplay and variations of levels will keep things fresh as well, lasting anywhere between 15 to 25 hours for the completionist at heart. It's just a shame that the text is so tiny and the performance issues mean that Tactics does take a few hits. But, like the series it's based on, it's still worth spending a few tokens on for just one more run. So, what's it like? Metal Slug Tactics is like Final Fantasy Tactics, crossed with Metal Slug.
Victory!
I award it a 76 out of 100.
Victory!
Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The best way you can support me is to like and subscribe and continue watching my content if you enjoy it. But if you do want to go that bit extra, you can buy me a coffee or join our Patreon, which shows you behind the scenes of this channel. Thanks again.